This is Stefan Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com. This week we saw the alarming and really very distressful explosion of an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico. Most of you will be familiar at least with that part of it. And initially, there were casualties, some people were rescued, but the reports were that these modern oil rigs are set up to basically shut off the flow of oil so that there would not be a very big risk to wildlife and to the beaches and the coastline of the Gulf states. That turned out not to be true. We are seeing now 1,000 gallons of oil coming out of the well. The pipe is broken, and they've been having very hard time getting down a mile below the surface to try and shut it off. There are two things I wanted to just comment on. One, there's a big political issue here. One is that the Republicans have been saying drill baby drill, and they've made fun of the Democrats and Obama for moving a little bit cautiously on trying to expand offshore oil drilling. And I have a feeling that when that oil hits the wildlife refuges, beaches, the marinas, the oyster beds, the crab areas where now crab season is starting in Louisiana, and it's going to devastate a lot of that. Apparently it's also going to devastate the fishing industry, because fish eggs float to the surface, and apparently this oil is a slick that's the size of the state of Rhode Island already, will do a lot of damage to that marine life. And I think that now the Republicans are probably not going to use the words drill baby drill, and Sarah Palin and Rush Limbaugh and Newt Gingrich and others are probably going to try and stay as far away as they can from that, because here you have a vivid example of what happens when you basically neglect the science and the warnings that everybody knew existed on this. I'm interested in the fact that in California, where they had one of these accidents, they pretty much banned offshore oil drilling. And a lot of states, including Florida, including when Jeb Bush, President Bush's brother, was the governor, they did not want oil drilling in many parts along the Florida Gulf Coast, because the value of beaches, wildlife, and other natural habitats is so much greater than the short-term extraction of oil. And so I think there is this political dimension to it that hasn't even been mentioned. President Obama recently approved more offshore oil drilling, but I think that's going to be put to a test, and probably is not going to happen as quickly, maybe never, because the governors of states that have these offshore oil reserves are now probably going to be extremely concerned about these disasters. There is a science of risk management and projecting risks in the future. I actually teach a class called Water World Revisited, which is a class that's about forecasting the future to 2050 of oceans and beaches and climate change. And this is a perfect example where the predictions were all that this would be a potential big problem if we start deep well drilling, and without even a hurricane, we had this terrible disaster that's unfolding now. So the impact of events like this are pretty significant on the political process.